Welcome back to the Mathematics Behind Sanctification series. Today we're going to be talking about attractor basins. Before we get into that, I want to do an overview of the material we have covered so far. What this course has sought to understand is how an agent gets stuck moving down a trajectory. We explored this first with positive feedback loops, that an agent can act, and then the condition changes, and they act again from that changed condition, and they move forward in a direction. As we stated, this could be positive, or this could be negative. Now, the second way that an agent is constrained that we've outlined here is going to be using the mechanisms of initial probability fields. So if you imagine your life being constrained by brackets, these brackets being your habits, the people you know, your preferences, they keep all your action within a certain range, and then out of that range, you emerge on the trajectory you're going to emerge on. Well, we compared this to alcohol. Someone who's regularly getting drunk, making bad decisions, running around with the wrong kinds of people, is going to have a lot more potential for bad things to happen in their life than someone who remains sober. But now I want to get into attractor basins. We're going to make this really simple. Imagine this is a ball at the bottom of a valley. This is your attractor. This is your attractor basin. The basin is going to be the set of parameters, think the hillside, that makes it so the ball can't roll up out of the basin. But if we think about an actor at the bottom of an attractor, then we can start to see initial probability fields being the basin that keeps them in their place. So as an example, I want us to envision two financial aid officers at a local college working the same job, sitting next to each other, cubicle by cubicle, and they have radically different lives in the evening. So our first guy gets home from work, scrolls on TikTok, eats a bunch of junk food, goes out drinking with the boys, and then shows up the next day at work depleted. Our second guy got the right diet, right exercise, seeing a friend, maybe talking to his mom, and he shows up for work the next day revitalized or energized. Think about those conditions being the initial probability fields, the attractor basins that keep the ball in their place. And we can see clearly how these constraints can lead to a totally different day. So let's say the guy who was out partying shows up to work the next day pretty flat, and he ends up being faced with a challenge, the kind of challenge that if he's able to solve it and navigate it well, he's going to win favor in the eyes of his boss, but he fails to do it. Compare that with the guy who is on the right track, walking the straight and narrow, and let's say he takes a call from a student that goes on for a long time. The student is very frustrated, they're very clueless about the financial aid process, and the worker manages to help solve their problem, which does get him accolades from his boss. So we can see the attractor basin effectively kept the ball where it was supposed to be. The positive guy stayed positive, and the negative guy stayed negative. Now this begs the question, how would a ball move from a negative attractor to a positive attractor? And anybody can liken this to their own lives, whether it be a really serious matter or a really mundane matter. But if you're on the wrong track and you find that everything is keeping your relationships keeping you down, your family's keeping you down, your financial situation's keeping you down, how on earth would you move from that pit to a good place? And this is where any students who took PMP with me last semester are going to see clear as day what I'm trying to display here. The principle is Counterfeit, Providence, taken from the story of Joseph being in the pit at his brother's mercy, winding up second in command of Egypt, saving the entire world from a famine. This is Counterfeit Providence. The odds that evil is successful is always less than 1. There is always a path from disorder to order. As long as you are breathing, as long as there is still air in your lungs, there is a path from disorder to order available to you. And that's really the uphill journey you will have to face as you break through the negative basin of attraction and manage to make it over to your ball, your state, your life sitting in a positive direction where there are positive feedback loops working at your disposal. And we can also go and add feedback loops to this same mechanism as you start climbing out of the pit, both the negative attractor and proverbially Joseph's pit. You change your condition, new action, change condition, new action, change condition, new action, all the way to a much better place. When we think about the condition of an agent moving along a trajectory, if we were to take everything we've gone over in this series up until now, it starts with heeding basic rules of good and bad, good and evil, actions, dispositions, habits, ideas, perspectives we can personally exhibit and then choose to act from into our lives. Then you have the boundaries, the constraints along the edge of the system, the initial probability fields. By getting out the bad, you leave more room for the good. And then finally, with Basins of Attraction and Counterfeit Providence, my message to you, no matter how far in the pit you are, no matter how bad things have become, no matter how hopeless a situation may seem, there is always a path from disorder to order. And it's as simple as starting to climb, taking that 1% agency and working your way out, working your way past the attractor basins, getting the hard stuff out of the way, so eventually you're rolling right into a pretty darn good spot. Thank you. God bless.